You open your phone, scroll for 10 seconds, and somehow feel worse about your entire life than you did before you picked it up. That's comparison doing exactly what comparison does, taking a curated glimpse of someone else's outcome and measuring it against your full, unfiltered experience of your own. It's an unfair fight by design, and most people run it against themselves dozens of times a day without noticing the rigged terms. The Stoics had a specific diagnosis for this, and it starts with naming what comparison actually measures. When you compare yourself to someone else, you're almost never comparing effort to effort or circumstance to circumstance. You're comparing your current position to their current outcome, stripped of the context that produced either. You don't see their starting resources, their specific opportunities, their setbacks, their timeline. You see a result, and you measure your entire unfinished process against their finished snapshot. Epictetus pointed directly at the structural problem here. You're placing your sense of worth on external comparisons, things that were never within your control to begin with, since another person's circumstances, timing, and results belong entirely to them, not you. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this too, reminding himself repeatedly to stay focused on his own actions and character rather than measuring himself against others. Not because other people don't matter, but because comparison as a foundation for self-worth is structurally unstable. Here's the specific instability. Someone will always be ahead of you in some dimension, more successful, more talented, more fortunate in some specific way. If your worth depends on winning every comparison, you've built your stability on a contest you can never fully win. The Stoic alternative isn't to stop noticing other people's lives or to pretend you don't care how you're doing. It's to change what you're actually measuring against. Instead of comparing your outcome to their outcome, compare your current effort to your own prior effort. Are you living closer to your own values today than you were a year ago? That's a comparison you can actually make honestly, because you have the full context on both sides of it. This shifts the entire exercise from an unwinnable contest against strangers to an honest, private conversation with your own progress, one where you actually have the information needed to judge fairly. Here's a practical approach for the next time you catch yourself comparing. First, notice the comparison happening, specifically. Name what you're actually measuring, their visible outcome against your full, unfiltered internal experience. Second, ask directly, do I have the context to make this comparison fairly? Almost always, the honest answer is no. You're missing their starting point, their specific struggles, their full timeline. Third, redirect the comparison inward. Replace how do I measure up to them with how do I measure up to where I was myself a year ago, acting on my own values. Fourth, let admiration exist without demanding it convert into self-judgment. You can notice someone doing something well, even feel inspired by it, without that noticing requiring a verdict about your own worth. Comparison isn't inherently the problem. Comparing yourself against a snapshot you don't have full context for, and treating the result as a verdict on your worth, is the problem. Compare yourself to yourself. Let that be the whole contest. I'll see you in the next one.